Hello, I'm Morris Dimba. Today, we are going to continue from where we left this RC building you're seeing on the screen here. And from this point, I'm going to show you how to set up and create RC staircase for RC building of this kind. And welcome once again to this tutorial, and we'll get started right away by marking the points for setting out our staircase. Now, if you take a look on the screen here, you can see some red points. These were the previous setting points of our staircase. Now, I want to do this afresh. I'll just right click. I'll click on empty screen, then right click, then I'll redraw to get rid of all those points so that I can pick these from the start. If we take a look from the top view of this building, of this RC building, this is the view you will have. This is a building containing 2 families per floor. Now we want to create a staircase for accessing all these buildings. Now our staircase will start from this end. You access the building from this end, then the door will be at this point. At this point, another entry to this family will be that point. This spot will be for accessing water pipes. This specifically for plumber to do his job, passing all the pipes to every floor, and also for cables, maybe for fiber cables, and that's all for that. And it should be slightly hollow. Now I'll switch back to isometric view by going to view, then switch to 3D or plane. Then from here we want to start setting up our staircase. Now right at the bottom here of this column, it is the entry point, or where the door will be located to access that building. And also at the bottom end of this column there will be a door. Now we want to locate 1 meter of this beam of this column to create a space for the door. Now to do that, I'll come to edit here and pick and go to points. I'll go to any position here. I'll pick that, then I'll snap at the bottom here. I'll snap at the bottom here. Let me check my view. I'll come to view first. I want to check view properties here. My view should be ortho. I'll apply that and accept that. I'll right click and fit to that. Now let's get started right away here. I was targeting the bottom end of this column. I'll come to edit here, then go to points here, then I'll pick at any position, then I'll hover my cursor here to see where my points will be located. I'll snap on that. Since this column is 300 millimeter, now the point is pulling us to the midpoint of this column. Now we'll just place it there, then right click and come to special copy and give it a linear offset of 150 millimeter. Taking into account the direction of the axis, it is Y. Now on the Y axis we'll feed negative 150 right there and click OK. It will be right at the bottom of this column. Then we'll come to points once again and pick on that, snap on that, then snap on that, then we'll snap at the bottom end here. These are our points. Now we want to create 1 meter of the column to allocate a space for the door. Now we'll click on that spot again and come to special copy, then come to linear. Then here, instead of 150, we'll feed 1 meter, but in the opposite direction. That's why you're feeding a negative sign. We are prefixing 1 meter with a negative sign. Now I'll go straight away and click copy. This is 1 meter from this end to this end. To verify that or to counter check that, you can come to measure, then pick distance, then snap right here and snap right there, and you'll be able to see from the bottom end here it is a meter. Now we want our staircase to start 500 millimeter off the door dimension and of the 1 meter allocated for the door. Now what I'll do, I'll click on that once again and right click and come to copy spatial and click on that. Then here I'll feed 500 millimeter and click on that. All right, and then accept that. My next step is to transfer this point to this edge, to the edge of this plinth beam. I'll come to points here and click on at any position to take me into that point. Then I'll snap right here. I'll snap right here. Let me just zoom it closer. I'll snap right there. Right click just to exit from that point command. I'll come back again here. At any position, I'll snap on this point and target end of this plinth beam. I'll snap right there. Then I want to locate a midpoint between these 2 points. I'll do the same thing. I'll come to online point here and snap right there and snap right here. We are doing the staircase setup. We want to set up our staircase. That's why we are doing all these points that will be guiding us in creating the staircase, the RC staircase. Now I've located a midpoint between these 2 points. Now I need another midpoint between this point and this point, another midpoint between this point and this. I'll go back to points and pick online again, and I want to snap right here and snap right here. That will give me a midpoint of the 2 points. I'll do the same thing, but instead of doing the same thing, we'll just snap on this one, right click and click copy and pick on this and snap right there. That is our midpoint. Or you can just go and do just the way we did the previous one. Now we have these 2 points, 500 off the door. Now we want to offset these points by 2 meters. The length of our staircase will be 2 meters. Now we want to give these points an offset of 2 meters. Now I've selected these points, and I'll right click and come to spatial copy or copy spatial, give it a linear offset. Then from here I'll feed 2 meters. I'll feed 2 meters, taking into account the direction of the XY axis. I'll click copy. Now from here, let me just turn this around by pressing Control and Control and hold, then press middle button on your mouse and hold so that you can turn this model around, as simple as this, like this. Now these are our points already marked. Now these are the points that will assist us in creating our staircase. I'll go ahead and select these points again by pressing the Control button on the keyboard. Once I've selected this, I'll right click and I want to give it an offset of 1500 meters, taking into account the height of the ceiling from the finished floor level is 3 meters. Now I'll take half of that 3 meters. I'll give it 1500 meters or 1.5 meters. Now I want to either move it or copy the same, but I prefer leaving a copy behind. Now I'll go to special copy and click linear. Now on this copy command, now I'll use the z-axis. We'll be moving upward. Now on the y-axis, I'll change it to 0 so that it doesn't interfere with our copying. Now on the z-axis, I'll feed 1500 or 1.5 meters. Then click copy. There we are. We've transferred this point to this we've transferred this point up by 1.5 meters, and again we want to transfer this by another 1.5 meters. We'll select on it again, we'll pick on it again like that. I want to take you step by step so that you can do this by yourself without any problem. Now once I've selected this, I'll right click and come to special copy and click linear, and give it an offset of the same dimension of 1.5 meters under the axis. I'll go straight away and click copy once again, and the points and those points once again will be transferred to the very top floor of the slab, I mean to the top slab. Now these points again, I want to transfer them by 2 meters in the direction of the y-axis. Now I'll go ahead and pick and select these points, holding my control button on the keyboard and select all these points. I'll right click again and come to special copy, and I'll pick linear right there. Then on the z-axis, I'll change that to 0. I will not leave that 1.5 under z-axis because it will interfere with us. Now I'll go to y-axis and feed 2 meters here. We will not prefix this 2 meters with a negative sign because the y-axis is in the positive direction, so we'll leave it as that. Now I'll go ahead and click copy. Our points have been given an offset of 2 meters away from these 2 points. So the critical points that we'll be using are these 2 points, are these points, and this one, and the ones down here. These are the most important points that will be assisting us in creating the staircase. Once those points have been placed in their appropriate location, we'll go ahead and start placing the RC concrete. And to do that, we'll go straight away to this applications and component button here. The moment you click that, just type stair, or if you're familiar with the numerical names of these macro, you just type 95, and this will take you straight away to reinforced concrete staircase. Then click on that macro. So the moment you've clicked on that macro, you'll be able to see at the bottom end here, the program saying you pick the first position, or pick the position where you intend to start your staircase. Now, having marked all these and marked this point as my midpoint for the first flight, right from the ground floor. Now I'll click on that point, then target this point that we raised at 1.5 meters. I will not click it right there prior to showing you how these measurements of the setup marries with the height and the size of the staircase that is inside the staircase macro. Now I'll click the interrupt, then I'll double click on this macro again to okay, here we are, and this is the dialog box for our staircase settings. Now we will not go to any tab, we'll go straight to parameters tab here. This is where we'll set everything. And there's so many ways of creating the staircase, like here, staircase creation method. under this drop down arrow you can pick it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 methods of creating the staircase, and we are going to pick the 0.2 horizontal and vertical step distance. This means using the points that, following the points that I was doing, or that I was placing and transferring, I started from the bottom end here, a point that runs all the way 2 meters away from the door. I'll be feeding 2 meters here, and the height of our staircase, taking into account the full height of the ceiling right from the finished floor level, is 3 meters, and I took half of that dimension. Now I'm working with 1.5 meters. Now what we'll feed is just these two dimensions, 2 meters and 1.5 meters. The rest will adjust themselves to accommodate all these dimensions. So once you've done that, the thickness of this slab, you can change that to 150 millimeter, and the same you can change the thickness at the bottom end here, 150 millimeter. And the landing also, you can feed the appropriate dimension, and landing at the top here you can feed the appropriate dimension. But for our case, we'll feed here 1.35. Now I'll feed 1 there, then I'll come here and add 50 there. Then at the bottom end here, this one I'll leave it at 150. I leave it at 150 right there. That's all. The wideness of our staircases is 1020, 1.020. That is the wideness of our staircase. This is enough. The waist of our staircase, we leave it at 200 millimeter. That is enough. Once that has been done, or the right dimensions has been fed on this dialog box, just go ahead and click modify for the program to accept the setting. There we are. Now we'll go straight away and pick this point as our start position, or our first position. I'll snap on that, then target the upper one that we raised to a height of 1.5, and snap right there. Then press your middle button on the mouse like that. There we are. This is our staircase already created. Now we want to adjust the landing. We want to set the landings properly. Just go ahead and double click on this. Okay, here we are, and what we are going to do is just to change this. Let me just close this. I'll close this. I'll come here and double click on this staircase. Double click on that so that we set up now. Here we are. Let's do that once again. I'll close this since it is of no help now. Then I'll bring this closer. Now this is our landing, and we want to extend this to be closer to these columns, these two columns. And also we want to get rid of this bottom landing, because we are starting our staircase right inside this bottom slab. Now to do that, we'll get rid of this dimension here. We'll make this to be 150 instead of 970. Then this one will adjust these to 1.53, 1.35. I'll feed that. Then we'll come here and add Now we'll go straight away and check what we've done. This is our staircase. Let me just bring it closer by pressing Control and holding my milled button on the mouse, and I'll be turning this around like this so that we can bring this closer and have a look. Perfect. Now we are going right away and do the second flight of our staircase. Now the points that I showed you that are very critical, are very important, are these points, and the bottom up and the bottom points here. Now I'll go straight back to reinforced concrete staircase macro. Then I'll start my staircase, my next flight here. Then I'll go straight away to the midpoint marked here, and I'll snap right there. Then press my milled button on the mouse. Perfect. I've created this. Now we don't need this landing. We need this landing to flash with this. To do that is quite simple. We'll close this because now we are almost getting, we are almost, it is almost becoming useless to us at the moment. Now I'll double click on this once again so that the macro settings or the staircase settings to come up so that we can feed the appropriate settings for the next flight for our staircase. Okay, let's move on, and I'll get rid of this. Now I'll bring the staircase closer so that we can have a look while we do the setting. I want this landing to flash with this landing from the bottom slab. Now I'll adjust this. I'll feed 970 here. I'll feed 970 right there, and this one I'll change it to 150. 150 is okay, and the rest will just remain the same. Note that the wideness of our staircase is 1020 or 1 meter 0.020. So I've done the adjustments. This one and this one. Now I'll go straight away and click modify for the settings to take. Here we are. Now to take a look of this closely, we'll press Ctrl 2 so that we can see whatever has been done. This is 150. We need to readjust this. This bottom end is okay, and we need to rectify the top end here. Now to do that, we'll just double click once again, and we do the settings. Okay, from this point, we'll close this. We'll close this one. Then zoom out just to bring this point we are trying to rectify closer. Now it was 150 before. Now we can make this 250. We can just feed it, make it perfect. You can see that it has been extended to appropriate length. Now if you take a look down here, there's a gap here, and this gap we want to rectify it. We want to join this slab and this slab. Now to do that, we'll only extend this landing to this direction. And to do that, you just go straight away here, inside here. We'll close this, and this gap we need to close it. We want to join the slab. Now we want to extend this landing to this direction. Now just go straight away to stairs and landings and target this position when we want to first of all note the gap in between. The gap in between is 50 millimeter. Now we want to there you are, it has been closed. You can see that extension of the slab. Now it is one slab now. It is one landing. The two has been joined. Now from that point we are done with the staircase creation. Now we want to put a beam here that will be keeping the staircase suspended. We'll close this now. I will close that by going to perfect. Now I'll press Ctrl 4 to get us back to the previous presentation. I'll press Ctrl and turn this round. Don't always forget to save your work, because power can fail anytime and you're not sure of your battery if you're using the laptop. Now I'll press Ctrl and hold that, and I want to now create a beam here that will be suspending, that this staircase will be resting on or will be supporting the staircases. I want to create a guide that will help me in creating that beam. I'll come to points here. I'll pick any position. Then I'll snap at the corner of this landing, snap right there, and snap right here, and target the other end. I'll right click right there. Now I'll come back again at one point. I want to locate a midpoint of the 2 points. I'll pick on that. I'll snap right there and snap right here. And taking into account that the length, the dimension of this column is 300. Now I'll pick on this. I'll pick on this and right click and come to copy spatial, come to linear. Then I'll give it an offset of 150 in the direction of x axis. I'll feed 150 and change this y to 0, and I just need 1. Perfect, that has been created. And I'll do a similar thing here, and instead of doing the same thing, what I'll do, I'll come to points here. I'll come to points and do that. Now I'll move this point by clicking on that, right click and come to copy. I'll copy it from this spot and go straight away to this end. That is my point already created there. Now I want to create a beam here, and I want to default on these beam settings. Now I'll double click on this beam. Once I've double clicked on that beam, the dialog box of that beam settings will come up. This one here you're seeing on the screen. Now I want to default on the dimensions of this beam, and the button on the modify button is gray, means it is inactive. Now it is inactive. Now I want to make it active once again. To make it active, I'll just interfere with this dimension, and I'll click modify. I've clicked modify. Now I'll come back again and change that to 0. I want this button. I'll click modify. Now I'll default on those on these settings. Now I'll close this. I'll come to beam here on the concrete. I'll click beam right here. I'll click on the beam right there, and I'll snap at the middle point of this and target the midpoint of this. Perfect. I have defaulted on these beam settings. That's why I'm following that process. I'll click on empty screen right there, and now I want to populate I want to populate this staircase upward. And one thing we need to note, the slab inside here should be hollow. We want to cut this slab from this end going that way, and prior to doing that, we'll make sure that the cutting is done correctly. Now, to do that, we want to have a clear view of the whole staircase. I'll press Ctrl 2. Then I'll change my view to plan view so that I can have a top view of this. Now the staircase cutting will be done like this. I'll mark this spot and mark this spot. I'll mark this and cut it out. It will be done as simple as that. I'll come to edit and pick on that. I'll come to any position and I'll zoom out and offset this, click that and offset that. I'll offset this in the x-axis but opposite direction. I'll feed 50, I'll feed negative 50 right there in that direction. I'll give it an OK. Then I'll come all the way to the edge of this slab and come all the way to this end, mark all those points. Now when doing the cutting, I'll make sure only the profile of the staircase is chopped off. Now let me switch back to my isometric view. I'll go back to my previous view and come back to view, then switch back to my isometric view so that I can do that appropriately in the correct way. Now this part has been marked. I want to mark it. It hasn't been marked. I'll come to points here and I'll mark this point right there and mark that point right here. And mark a point here. Mark a point right here. Ctrl 2 so that I can have a clear view of this. Mark a point right there and mark a point right there. So I'll zoom out, I'll turn this round and transfer these points. I'll click on this point and press Ctrl and click on this point. Press Ctrl, right click and come to copy. I want to transfer this point upward. I'll press Ctrl 4 to get me back on top. Press Ctrl and hold that so that I can come right here. Points are not accurate. Points are not accurate. I left this. I'll press Ctrl, press that, press Ctrl, pick on that, press Ctrl again and turn this round and target. I need this point. I'll press Ctrl and pick on this point. I'll right click and come up. Click copy. And I want to pick it from this spot. I'll pick it from that spot, then I'll zoom out and go to top end here of the second flight of our staircase. I want to snap right here. There we are. Now I'll press Ctrl and hold and look and take a look at that. I'll do the same thing here. I'll do the same thing here. I'll do the same thing here. Now we want to do a cut of this slab. We'll go straight away to edit and pick on polygon. I'll click on the slab I want to cut. I'll click on that, and I want to cut my slab from this spot. From that spot, I'll go all the way to this end, snap right there, and go all the way to this end and snap right there, and I'll snap right here and snap right here and snap. I'll go all the way. I'll turn this round and snap here. I'll snap right there and target my initial spot. And snap right here. Though it's not accurate, and we'll do that once again. I'll come back to polygon and pick on the slab that you want to cut. Let me just snap right here. Let me snap right there and turn this round and snap right here. Snap right there and turn around once again and target the part that we want to cut out so that our staircase can be exposed. Now I'll snap here. I'll come all the way to this end. I'll snap right there. I'll come all the way to this end and snap right there. Then I'll go all the way to this end and snap right there. Then target my initial spot, which was this spot. It has been trimmed off. It has been trimmed off. It has been trimmed off. Now our staircase is open, and we can now get rid of this slab. Get rid of that slab. Now if you turn this round, you can see our staircase down here. Now what we want to do now, we want to populate this. We'll click on that and click on this. We'll right click and give it a copy spatial linear on a z-axis. Then we'll change this to 0. Then we'll feed 3 meters here. We need 2 of this. I've left the beam. I've left this beam. I'll include this beam. Now I'll go ahead and right click. I'll go ahead and right click and come to spatial copy and click linear. Here will be 0. Then we'll feed 3 meters on the axis. We need 2 of these. We'll add 3. Then we'll just invoke the copy command. We'll click copy and see what's happening. Go ahead and click OK. And this is what we have. This is what we have now. We'll click on this slab. We'll right click and come to, we'll click on this slab, then right click and come to spatial copy. We'll give it a linear. Then we'll add 2 here. We just need 2 of these. We need 2 of that. We need 2 of that. Let's see where it's ending. Perfect. Give it an OK. Right click and interrupt. We'll add another one. We'll click on the slab. We'll click on the slab right here. Then come to spatial copy right here. Then come to linear. Then we need only one slab up. We'll click copy. Perfect. We'll give it an OK. Then we'll come to our beams. We forgot to pick the beams. I'll press Alt and pick all the beams. So once I've done that, I'll right click and come to spatial copy and pick linear. Under linear, I want to populate 3 of these. I'll go ahead and click copy. Copy. That's where we are now. And I'll do the same to the columns. I'll press Alt and select all the columns. Now I'll press Control. And note that we have 3 meters here. We have 3 meters, 3, 3, 3. This is 9 meters. 9 meters. I'll go ahead and press Control and double click on one of these columns and click on that column. Then I'll add 9 here to make it 15. I'll type 15, or can just make it 18 because there's another slab remaining up. I'll go ahead and click modify. Perfect. 15 is okay. 18 was too much. Click 15. Perfect. Then I'll close this concrete dialog box. I'll click on empty screen right here. Then I'll come to this slab once again and click on it. I'll right click and come to spatial copy and click linear. On this, I'll populate only one slab and click copy. Perfect. And I'll close this. Now I'll press Control and turn this round, though it's now heavy due to graphics. I'll press Control and select this and that. Right click and give it a spatial copy of linear move or linear offset and click copy. Delete the duplicates and click OK. Perfect. Here we are. This one also has to move up. I'll click on empty screen and I'll undo what I've done. Then go ahead here again and pick on these staircases and pick on the beam. I'll go ahead and right click and come to spatial copy, then pick linear. Then I'll give it an offset of 3 meters. I'll click OK. I'll right click and give it an interrupt just to exit that command. Don't forget to save your work. I'll go straight to save. I'll save my work right there. Now this is our staircase already created. Now if we create view K, we can go to view K, to grid K, I mean grid K. If we pick grid K here, grid K here, and bring it here, we can have a look of the staircase. You can see the staircase here. Right click and fit right there. This is our staircase already created. Now let me just switch back to my isometric view so that I can take you through to what we've done. This is our staircase. This is the main entry. We access it through this end. Take a look of our staircase. Nicely done. Now I can select all these staircases. I want to select all these staircases and explode them so that I can expose the rebars inside the staircases. I'll press Control and select that, and select this. So when I press Control 2, you can be able to see the rebars inside our staircases. You can see the rebars inside. You can see the rebars inside the staircase. Already placed. You can see the rebars inside the staircase. Perfectly placed. Now I'll go ahead and press Ctrl 4 to take me back where I was, and we want to match the colors of this. I'll press Ctrl and select all this. I'll click on this and give it that color. Click on empty screen and everything has been changed. Click on that, press Ctrl and click on this. I'll zoom out and click on this. Now I'll change the color of this staircase to match the color of the columns. There we are. I'll click on empty screen to remove the selection of the staircase. I'll close that. I'll click once more on empty screen. Now everything is done. I'll right click now and click redraw just to get rid of any points marked. If I turn this round, you can see that clearly. We have the staircase right there, and there's one more. This and that, and this and this. I'll do click undo, click on that, and I want to change this color to gray. I'll do the same thing here. Change that to gray to match the color of the columns. I'll do the same thing here. Click on that, press Ctrl and click on this. Then I'll hover on this cube then I click on that drop down arrow, then scroll to a color of my choice, then click class 1. I'm done with that. Then I'll press Control, then I'll turn this round like this so that you can have a greater look of what we've done so far. I'll right click and redraw. Perfect. Now I'll change the view. I'll come to perspective and click modify. I'll apply and accept that. I'll zoom out and in just to have a closer look of what has been done. I'll press Control and turn this round. This is our staircase. This is our staircase, ready made, ready created. And this is how it looks. This is how our staircase looks. If I switch back to plan view, this is how it looks now. Perfect. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and let's meet on the next presentation. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, and bye bye.